Hey everybody, what is going on? Heatsoul here. Got another Master Duel video for you. So, it is time to begin our Season 21 deck profiles. And the first deck that I want to cover is not Dragon Link, it's not Sprite, and it's not Sword Soul. It's actually Mathmech. So, Mathmech, I think that people are super sleeping on this deck right now. I really do. While I don't think it is going to be as good as either of the other, or any of the other three decks rather, that I just mentioned, I think it's probably a runner-up for the next best deck behind them. It seems like a lot of people aren't really considering that Mathmech is very well poised post-banless to kind of rise back up a little bit. Not quite to where it was before. I don't think it's going to be, again, a tier 1 deck, but on my post-banless tier list video, I put it at the top of tier 3, but even then, that was kind of just like a bit of a hedge in case I was wrong. I think that this is going to be a firmly mid-tier 2 deck, and a lot of the reason for that is due to how many fewer Shizu Shufflers and Bestial Monsters we're going to be seeing in this meta. With tier limit getting hit as hard as it did, it took with it the consistency of spitting out the Shizu Shufflers as often as we were seeing them in games, right? If you think about decks outside of tier limit that were playing the Shizu Shufflers, there's not a lot of them that were doing it consistently. Maybe like, I don't know, like Madolche, Labyrinth. Actually, Labyrinth does sometimes play the Shufflers in addition to, or to send with rather, like the Dragleer or Stovey or something. But yeah, I think as far as just how many of them we're going to see, it's going to be drastically lower. Same for the Bestials too. Now, to be fair, Dragon Link, which is a very prominent deck, will still be chock full of Bestial monsters. However, I think a lot of the decks, like Sprite, that were teching Bestials before, are going to stop doing it. So in that regard, I definitely would expect to see fewer of them in the meta. And also, Tier Limit was one of the biggest players of Bestial monsters in the old meta. And of course, again, going to be seeing far fewer of those moving forward. So yeah, I think for those reasons that it's time for Mathmech to kind of rise back up. And honestly, Mathmech is one of those decks that, and I was guilty of this too, I think most people just kind of forgot about. Like, I don't think Mathmech was, well, okay, to be fair, when the Shizu cards first came out, yes, that was a very, very bad time to be playing Mathmech. I think, was it the most recent list before this one, or the one before that? I don't remember, but I think when the Shizu Shufflers went to 1, Mathmech actually became a lot more playable than a lot of people realized. And even as I was testing this deck, I was testing it on ladder pre-banless, so in those sort of circumstances where Mathmech was not nearly as good, and I was surprised by just how many games I was winning regardless. To be fair, I was playing a Master 1, where people tend to play more fun decks and or will concede very easily because there's no consequence. So any testing done in Master 1 is kind of like, yeah, you gotta take it with a grain of salt. But I was just very impressed with how Mathmech performs as a deck. I thought also that maybe more recent archetypes would have made this deck feel a little power creeped. Like, it just maybe wasn't as strong as other newer stuff, but no, again, I'm very satisfied with where Mathmech is. So this list is extremely similar to the one that I got top 8 with in MCS week number 2. In fact, the extra deck is exactly the same. And the main deck is not exactly the same, but very, very similar, because I really don't think there were that many changes that needed to be made. One of the main things that, and I was doing this beforehand as well, one of the main things that I like to do a little bit differently with Mathmech that a lot of people don't do is I don't play Parallel Exceed. I'll go ahead and pull the card up in case you're not familiar with it by name, Parallel Exceed. I saw that like 70% of Mathmech decks submitted in Master Duel meta the past couple of months were playing 3 of this. I am not a fan of Parallel Exceed in Mathmech. It is a pretty situational extender. I just don't think it's that great, honestly. I much prefer to run third copies of Addition and Subtraction, which seems kind of odd, but the difference that these cards make is actually very significant. If you open Circular by itself, that's your standard 1-card combo that sets up the Laplacian with the 3 materials, including Diameter for the opponent's turn. However, if you open an addition or subtraction on top of the circular, you can not only do that same setup, but you can use the second Laplacian on your first turn to get another hand rip from your opponent. The second Laplacian is also something that a lot of people were not doing with Mathmech now or beforehand. I think it's wrong. I think that there is not anything, I don't know about anything, but I can't think of anything that would play in the extra deck over the second Laplacian. Like, I can't think of anything that would be better than allowing for the opportunity to have a second hand rip. Like, even if you're only playing 2 of each addition and subtraction, which is how most Mathmech decks ratio out, even if you're only playing 2 of each of these, that is still so likely to open circular plus addition / subtraction. And that's not even considering opening circular and Cynet Mining, or circular and small world. If you open circular plus diameter, it actually gets even better, because with that combo line, I don't actually set up the extra hand rip, but what you can do is you can not only set up the Omni negate the diameter offers, you put that on the Alembertain before you get to 5 summons, but that also will allow you to chain block circular's effects to search Superfactorial with a diameter effect. That combo line will. So yeah, the combos are a lot more resilient and impactful than I think a lot of people realize. I think a lot of people just kind of assume that you just have circular and that's it, and that's how you make plays. But no, the deck does a lot, actually. And even without opening circular, as long as you can make an Alembertain to find the circular, you will have plays. So yeah, cool stuff. I also definitely think that the Link Disciple and Devotee are still the way to go. It seems like these fell off really hard for some reason. I don't really get why. And we'll go over the combo line so I can illustrate why these 2 Link ones are so powerful. But yeah, I do think it is the right call to be playing those. One other thing, I've been talking a lot here in the deck profile, so let me wrap this up. But one more thing I want to mention real quick is Small World. Small World is at its best in Mathmech. With our current monster lineup, we can basically go any monster into literally any other monster. There are 3 monsters in the deck that make this possible: Effect Failure, Nibiru, and most importantly, Gatchiri Addition. I see a lot of people use, it's not Glider, what is the card called? It's like Para something? I thought it was like Paraglider or something. Oh shoot, now I'm not going to be able to find it. Well, regardless, don't use any other small world bridges besides Gatchiri. Gatchiri Addition is the best small world bridge you can possibly have in this deck, and I'm guaranteeing it for many reasons. One, I remember, it's Link Flyer. That is the card I was trying to think of. So if I look at Flyer, yes, I saw in the past a lot of people play Link Flyer because it's a small world bridge that lets you find a Maxx, and it's also an extender. Don't ever play this card. This card's garbage. This card's terrible. Don't ever play this in Addition, or Mathmech. Play Gatchiri Addition instead. Gatchiri Addition does literally everything Link Flyer does, but better. It's a small world bridge. It's a Cyberse monster that special summons itself, so it acts as an extender. It's got much better stats than Link Flyer, so it's a better extender. And it also has two extremely relevant effects. I've used both of these effects, both protecting Cyberse monsters from destruction, and then also making your own monster unaffected by opponent's card effects. Using that on an Accesscode Talker that you're about to OTK with, insane. Absolute insanity. Furthermore, this card being an Earth will let you still bridge into Maxx, and it also helps with the Kashtira Fenrir, right? If you open Kashtira Fenrir plus Small World, you can special the Fenrir, add another Fenrir, use Small World, reveal Fenrir, send the Gatchiri, and then that lets you go into the Circular. So I just wanted to talk briefly about Small World there, and how this particular monster lineup, again, particularly the inclusion of Valor, Nibiru, and Gatchiri, which Valor and Nibiru are already, I think, already correct to play in this deck, but by simply adding Gatchiri as an extender, we, again, have the ability to bridge literally any monster in this deck to any other monster with Small World. So just wanted to point that out real quick. Let's go ahead and break this list down card by card, and then we'll take a look at some games. So we're playing 2 Valor, 3 Maxx, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 2 Mathmech Sigma, 3 Mathmech Addition, 3 Mathmech Subtraction, 3 Mathmech Diameter, 3 Mathmech Circular, 2 Kashtira Fenrir, 1 Gatchiri Addition, 1 Nibiru the Primal Being, 3 Cynet Mining, 1 Mathmech Equation, 3 Small World, 2 Call by the Grave, 1 Crossout Designator, 3 Infinite Impermanence, and then finally 1 Mathmech Superfactorial. And there is our main deck. For the extra deck, we are on 2 Primathmech Laplacian, 2 Primathmech Alembertain, 1 Link Disciple, 1 Link Devotee, 1 Linguriboh, 1 Cyberse Wicckid, 1 Update Jammer, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Splash Mage, 1 Transcode Talker, 1 Mech Crusade Avermax, 1 Apollusa Bow of the Goddess, and then finally 1 Accesscode Talker. There's our list. Let's look at some gameplay. Alright, our first opponent is going to be on Kashtira Punk. I'm not sure yet if I think that's going to be the best Punk variant moving forward. I think the Kashtira variant and the Bestial/Assault Synchron variant are kind of equal, honestly. But we're going to be taking the first turn. This hand is actually a little bit awkward, but still has some plays here. I'm going to start by specialing the Fenrir and activating the effect. Opponent is going to throw out the effect Veiler against the Fenrir. I have talked about this so often lately, and this is a perfect illustration of why Kashtira Fenrir, such a good card right now. Just the fact that my opponent wasted their Veiler on it alone is already worth it, but on top of that, this will have the ability to very likely stick around through to my opponent's turn, and then offer some disruption availability, as well as just acting as not only, again, an extender, but also the ability to take my opponent's disruption basically away from them. So here I'm actually playing 2 effect Veilers, so if I really wanted to, I could have used the Crossout Designator, but there's no reason to cross out here, right? I mean, obviously, we definitely want this Fenrir to get negated. Plus, my opponent could still have like a Maxx or an Ash Blossom or an Imperm or something, so definitely gonna let this Fenrir get negated. We love to see it. Again, the rest of our hand is looking a little bit awkward, but I can still special 1 Sigma and then normal the other, and now I can use those 2 to overlay into the Alembertain. Now, I'm not going to be able to summon Sigma as part of my combo line anymore, but I can search Circular here. Opponent actually has a second Veiler, so very glad I didn't just snap use my Crossout Designator. This is actually another thing I wanted to talk about. I've seen lately, or this could just be, selection bias, but I feel like lately I've seen a surprising number of people confess that they just always activate cards when they glow yellow. Don't do that. And this is the exact reason why you don't want to do that, right? Again, I think a lot of people, even myself on the wrong day, if I was just absent-minded, watching a video while I was playing, not really thinking, I would have, just snapped thrown out the Crossout Designator in response to the first Veiler, right? But again, we wanted the Fenrir to eat that Veiler, and now we can use the Crossout Designator on the Veiler that's threatening the Alembertain here. Also, very glad I play 2 Veiler right now, as I do already have one in my hand here, but Alembertain will allow us to grab this Circular. Now, Circular can send, I'm just going to send either Addition or Subtraction, doesn't really matter which one, because, again, the Sigma has already used its effect, but in any case, now I can go ahead and set up the Link Disciple plus Link Devotee. Now, because I had to use the Alembertain effect here to get the Circular, I'm not going to be able to get a Diameter into my graveyard, so the Laplacian that I'm going to make off this Superfactorial will ultimately end up not having an Omni Negate on it, but that's fine. It'll definitely still have the ability to take 3 of our opponent's cards, which combined with the Fenrir and the Veiler should be enough to get us there. Oh no, I'm sorry, the Fenrir, that's right. The Fenrir we're actually going to end up using to make IP Masquerena. So the Fenrir is not going to stick around through to the opponent's turn, but between the Apollusa, is what I meant to say. The Apollusa that this Wicckid can potentially make, as well as the Veiler and the Superfact, should have enough disruption there. That's the nice thing, too, about ending on a play like this, right? Is like, we have the option to go into Apollusa if we wanted to, which is often what you do want to do. However, because we're also playing Mathmech Crusade Avermax, we have the option to go into that here as well. I'm not playing Heatsoul. I meant to bring this up during the deck profile. I'm not playing Decode Talker or Heatsoul. That's what I'm playing the second Laplacian over. I'm not a fan of Heatsoul in this deck. I think the combo lines where you end on Heatsoul are very mediocre. I think that you can use the extra extenders to end on much stronger boards, like hand ripping with the second Laplacian here. So, but yeah. Opponent's going to lead with the No Punk Ogre Dance. I'm going to go ahead and fire off the IP Masquerena in response to this. Just to make sure that we're getting the... I think I'll go for Apollusa here. I just want to make sure that we're getting it on the board as soon as possible. Yes, to make sure that we are able to negate the Xiamine or Foxy Dance or whatever, or Foxy Tune rather, or whatever's coming here. Opponent's actually got an E-Tele for the Madam Spider, activating the Madam Spider effect. That's fine. I don't care at all about the trap card search here. This Xiamine, however, I'm actually not going to negate with the Apollusa, I'm negating with the Effectivator. The reason is the same reason that I suspect my opponent started by normal summoning the Madam Spider and activating her effect. They're trying to beat my Apollusa. They're trying to get her to use the effect and go down to 800 attacks so they can battle over her and then go into their follow-up plays. But I'm just going to go ahead and use Valor here. That way my Apollusa maintains its stats and is the strongest monster on the field. And my opponent does not get to just run it over for free. Alright, they're going to go into Asa here. I'm just going to flip up the Superfactorial now upon the resolution of the summon. I don't think I actually have an Earth. Oh no, yeah, because I have the Fenrir. Right, I don't want them to take that, so I'm just going to Laplacian away this Asa, like, again, literally as soon as it's summoned. Now I get to hit a card from their hand, as well as the Asa, and yeah, even if they had other monster effects, then my Apollusa would be able to help clean those up there. So I'm just going to normal summon the Diameter, grab back Circular, and from here on out, I'm just going to go straight for the Update Jammer access code, and we do still have that Apollusa on board to help protect our combo line. And yeah, my opponent's just going to concede at this point. They're probably familiar with Mathmech and know what is about to happen next. So yeah, while that does not show off a very typical combo line, it does still show, because like a lot of people I think would see that opening hand of double Sigma and be like, oh, this has to be the worst hand ever. I can't even make plays with this. But no, while it might seem like that at a glance, once you get down to the nitty gritty, even a hand that's only double Sigma can still end on a live Superfactorial with a lot of disruption set up there as well. Of course, the Kashtira Fenrir definitely greatly helped us in that too. So good stuff. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next duel. Alright, we're going to find ourselves scoring off against Labyrinth next here, and they're definitely ready for the new meta because they're packing not one but two Nibiru in their deck. Going to be taking the first turn yet again here. This time we open up with not only the Kashtira Fenrir, but also the Circular and Addition. So wow, that's Fenrir plus the combo line where you end on an extra hand rip. Very nice. Get a Fenrir for Fenrir starting off, and then Circular sends Sigma. Sigma F will bring itself back. Going to, of course, activate Circular to grab us a Superfactorial before overlaying the two of these cards into our Primathmech Alembertain. Going to be grabbing the Diameter of the Alembertain here, as I have not even normal summoned yet, which is very, very nice. Going to normal summon the Diameter, use the effects to bring back Sigma, and we get hit. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought we got hit with Nibiru here. I think that's actually going to come here in just a moment. I'm pretty sure it's after. It's one of these games I get hit with a Nib. I thought it was this one. I think it is after we summon both Disciple. Yes, it is after we summon both Disciple and Devotee. My opponent actually Nibiru'd at, like, totally the wrong time here. To be fair, they might not have the knowledge of Mathmech, particularly a build that plays Link Disciple and Devotee. However, the correct time for them to Nibiru was right after I summoned a Disciple, because they should know that Devotee is coming afterward, and Link Devotee, it does not care how it was tributed. That's why it works with Alembertain, but as long as it was tributed while co-linked, you get the 2 tokens. And Nibiru tributes. Now, while Nibiru does get rid of both the Disciple and Devotee, it does not change the fact that the Link Devotee was co-linked at the time that it was tributed. So as Nibiru is about to wipe off my board here, at first I was like, oh, this sucks. But then I realized Devotee was going to resolve, and I was like, oh wait, this is 100% fine. Like, I definitely have all my plays here still. So there are the 2 tokens. I'm going to go ahead and link both of them off for Cyberse Wicckid, which only takes 2 Cyberse monsters. I can then use Addition to buff Wicckid, and then also activate Wicked's effect to search myself a Diameter. Finally, I can link off the Addition and the Primal Being token in order to summon the IP Masquerena. Now, had my opponent actually timed the Nibiru a little bit better, we actually still would have been completely fine, right? Because we already have our 3 Mathmech monsters, including Diameter, set up in the graveyard there. Also, we still had the Addition as well, so I'm just trying to think of what the correct line would have been, right? because we would have had both the Nibiru token and the potential to summon Mathmech Addition. I actually don't think there's any Link monster you can really summon with just those two that's that great. So it might have just had to have ended on the Nibiru token plus the Superfactorial, but yet another reason why I like Mathmech so much here for this new format, right? Even in the situation where we didn't have our opponent give us 2 free tokens off the Devotee, we still would have had our Superfactorial set up, and Mathmech can just pretty much always set up under Nibiru, which is nice. But here, we got the 2 extra tokens, and we didn't even end on a board that's like different, very different at all from our regular end board. True, we did miss out on the Superfactorial, or the second Laplacian hand rip as a result of the Nibiru, but that's a fine price to pay. I'm okay with that. So, opponent trying to draw phase Welcome Lab as their first point of the first thing they do when they get past priority. That's actually really smart because it gives them an opportunity to activate it before I have a chance to get the Laplacian out with the Superfactorial. Had they moved to main phase and like normal summon like an Ariana, for example, I could have chained a Superfactorial to that and then summoned the Laplacian. To be fair, my opponent could have chained a Welcome Lab to the Superfactorial, but long story short, they just wanted to resolve the Welcome Lab before the Laplacian got summoned to the board. But thankfully, as you saw, we had the Ash Blossom there to put a stop to that. Speaking of Ariana, here she is. I'm going to go ahead and flip the Imperm on her. Ariana tends to be one of the few good Imperm targets here. Opponents can use the big Welcome Lab to bounce her back to the hand. That will allow Ariana's effect to end up resolving there. So, they will ultimately end up getting the search there. Looks like they are grabbing the lovely lady of the labyrinth, or sorry, the Lady Labyrinth of, wait, Lady Labyrinth of Silver Castle, yes. Lovely Lab is the first one. Anyway, they're actually summoning Chaos Angel, and I was a little surprised to see them go for Chaos Angel here, given that they know I can chain both IP and Superfact. It doesn't really matter what they target. I'm always just going to chain it. Here I'm going for Avermax. Obviously, Apollusa not nearly as good against Labyrinth as it is other decks. And Labyrinth can have a bit of a time actually outing this Avermax, so. Okay, Muckraker is going to bring back the Chaos Angel, which is not once per turn and activates whenever it's special summoned to period. But again, I'm just going to chain the Superfactorial, so. It's not even really like my opponent forced me here, because like I already wasn't really feeling the need to play the Superfact just yet anyway. But yeah, I mean, why not? I'll take out their Chaos Angel, I'll take out a random card from their hand. I was actually waiting to see if I could snipe a back row during the end phase and, you know, get them that way, but maybe we can hit a back row here. And it looks like we do. The big Welcome Lab ends up getting discarded here. And at that point, my opponent concedes. So it seems like they were just trying to play around me hitting the face down card before they had a chance to activate it. But looks like we, again, just sniped it out of their hand anyway. So good stuff. Got a couple more games to watch. Let's go straight into this next one here. All right, we've got an opponent here who is on Branded Tier Limit. Both decks were hit pretty decently by the ban list. Two of them got hit super hard with loss of Merly. And Branded, as we know, lost a copy of Branded Fusion, so it makes sense why someone might want to mix the two archetypes together. We open with both Small World and Cynet Mining. I typically, it very much varies hand to hand. It very much varies, but I like starting with Small World because if your opponent Ash Blossoms that, you don't lose the discard, like you don't lose the inherent hand advantage like you do with Cynet Mining. Plus, it's not like the Cynet Mining is going to be bad moving forward, right? Because we can always just search another extender. Now, had it not been for that Bestial Saronir, we could have actually, again, gone for a second Laplacian and potentially hand ripped turn 1 here. But because that Saronir did take out the Sigma, we're going to have to go ahead and use this addition to make Alembertain, and then search our Diameter from there. We do still have our normal summon, so we can still summon the Diameter and still set up our plays just fine, but again, just kind of lacking out on that extra hand rip there. That's the other thing too, like, the Bestial on the Sigma seems pretty brutal, but it's not too hard with one other extender, and this deck has a lot of ways to find extenders. It's not too hard at all to still have, like, a lot of very solid plays. Alright, now we're going to link off the Devotee and one of the link tokens for Cyberse Wicckid, and we get to fill those zones that Wicckid is pointing to with both the Linguriboh rather, and the IP Masquerena. I would actually wait to activate Wicckid until you summon the IP, because it's technically best to banish the Alembertain, but I think it's fine. Alright, gonna set up the Superfactorial, of course, and then pass back over to our opponent. Now here, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and ultimately end up using the Linguriboh as a material for Apollusa. There are some matchups where you would want to consider keeping the Linguriboh around. It also could potentially help to stop an Imperm that's targeting your Apollusa, but since my opponent already has Sarnair on the board, I know that's not going to be an issue, so... Pearl Rhino's being activated, opponent moving straight to battle phase in an attempt to battle over this Apollusa, but I'm just going to go ahead and flip up the Superfactorial. Gonna have to really hope that we don't hit the Chiron that's in their hand, because we're going to send the Sarnair as well, so they get to chain block the tier limit Fuser. And because we're the luckiest player in the world, we do hit the tier limit Chiron, so that's going to be proc and get chain blocked by the Sarnair, so unfortunately I cannot negate the Chiron effect here. I do, however, like that we're getting to send the Pearl Rhino before they have a chance to activate the effect. Looks like they also had Despain Tragedy in hand, so to be fair, there were a lot of cases where we were going to hit something in their hand that they wanted to get sent to the graveyard. Looks like they are summoning Koratus and then trying to go for an Albaz, but I very much still have this Laplacian negate. So no Mirror Jade for the opponent. Alright, we're looking really good here, actually. Yeah, this normal summon Diameter I think is going to be enough to get a concede yes out of my opponent. They must be familiar enough with Mathmech to know that I already have more than, like, literally more than enough than I need to Accesscode up the gym or OTK them. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that tier limit name, like, the Chiron probably would have just sent, because we saw what the rest of their hand was, right? It was Albaz. What did they discard off of Albaz? Kashtira Fenrir, Branded Lost? Like, the rest of their hand really wasn't that great. Actually, I'm looking at the rest of their hand. Why would you not lead with Kashtira Fenrir there? Oh, because they had Sarnair on the board already. Right. Yeah, I don't know. That Sarnair actually ultimately ended up costing them. Like, if they'd been able to lead with the Fenrir, things would have definitely been more difficult for me. But, yeah, and like I said before, too, the Sarnair on the Sigma did not even really hinder me at all. It just stopped me from doing a better play, and I did my standard play instead. Oh, no. So, cool stuff there. We have one more duel to look at, so let's go straight into it. And our final duel for this video, we're going to find ourselves up against Draco Slayers, the Pendulum archetype. So, let's go ahead and go straight into this one here. Alright. Opening hand, looking really good actually. We have Small World and Cynet Mining, as well as a Maxx and Mathmech Equation. Once again, leading with Small World. If I have the option between the two, I always prefer to lead with the Small World for its ability to just be a little bit better under the Ash Blossom there. Circular is going to end up pitching the Sigma, going to activate Sigma's effect to bring itself back. Circular will then be grabbing the Superfactorial before overlaying these two cards into our Primathmech Alembertain. Alembertain will, of course, be activating its effect to grab us a Mathmech Diameter. Gonna normal summon the Diameter here and use it to bring back Mathmech Sigma. Linking the two off now for Link Disciple and Devotee. So here I could have used Cynet Mining to discard the equation and actually grab Addition or Subtraction. But I think the reason, I'm trying to remember why I kept the Mathmech Equation and didn't do that. I think I was just waiting for some kind of disruption and hoping to use the equation as a bit of an extender. I could have also just misremembered. I think this was one of the earlier games, so maybe I was just being a bit rusty here. To be fair, the Cynet Mining play also does come with a fair bit of loss as far as like the number of cards in hand as well. While it is nice to get a hand up on turn 1, you could also make the argument that Cynet Mining and Mathmech Equation are going to be too important to having the OTK follow-up on turn 3 in case our opponent wipes our board. So there's really an argument either way, honestly, whether you want to keep it or not. Gonna fire off the Maxx during the draw phase here. Looks like it does end up resolving. Opponent's going to Sky Iris. I'm going to fire off the IP in response to the Sky Iris. I ended up keeping the Linguriboh around, but I think that was a misplay, right? Given that my opponent has a card on the board and is now obviously playing a Pendulum deck, like, there's really no chance they're really ever activating a trap card here, so... At this point, what I'm basically doing is I'm waiting for a better opportunity to activate the Superfactorial. I'm waiting for my opponent to set up an important Pendulum scale, basically, but... I'm gonna stop this Draco Slayer from summoning from the deck, and I'm definitely stopping this Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon from adding a card to my opponent's hand here. With Pendulum decks in particular, right, I really like cutting off their searching, because in order to set up a scale and make plays, Pendulum needs specifically a high and a low scale. So if you stop them from searching, you kind of force them to hard open with a high and a low scale, and it can be a bit difficult for them to do that sometimes. And as soon as my opponent's setting these cards up in the scale, I'm going to go ahead and flip up the Superfactorial here. I'm going to get rid of the Purple Poison Magician, the Pendulum Scale, and then the last card in hand. Laplacian sends, it does not destroy, so it will not trigger the Purple Poison Magician's effect. And on top of that, the Laplacian will also ensure that my opponent only has, like, this monster on board and the field spell they've already used. So, like, yeah, they can battle over my Apollusa if they want, but, like, they're so far behind at this point, right? Like, even with the cards I have on the field, right, I could link the Linguriboh and Laplacian into Splash Mage, and then from there, I think I would need one more extender still to go into Update Jammer Accesscode, but suffice it to say, it's not going to be hard for me to win the duel from here, and my opponent, realizing that, is going to just concede. So that's going to do it for our duels there. Thank you all so much for watching these games. Again, Mathmech, I think it's really, really good this meta. I think a lot of people are sleeping on it, and I'm very much looking forward to continuing to play it moving forward. But for the time being, let's just go ahead and move to our outro. Alright everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the very end of the video like this. That means a whole lot to me. Not just personally, but it's also a great way of supporting the channel as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other means, you can of course feel free to comment and or subscribe right here on YouTube. I'm always looking to the comments section. You guys leave some pretty awesome feedback as far as like constructive criticism goes when it comes to deck building, gameplay, channel content, all that stuff. So feel free to leave your opinion down there. I will be sure to take a look at that there. And then subscribing is going to be the best way to get notifications of when these videos drop. That does happen every day, by the way, so if you're looking for daily Master Duel content, you've come to the right place. And there are more places where you can get some daily Master Duel content. If you check out the description below, follow the top link over to my Patreon page. There for just $5 a month, which is as much as you pay for a booster pack. You'll find a lot more value than a pack full of filler over there. We've got some previews for content upcoming here on the channel. We've got some exclusive games that are only posted over on Patreon over there. We've got some Q&As, and then you can also have your name featured in this lovely credit sequence where I thank all of the people who are helping contribute over there on Patreon. It's a huge support to the channel, and it really means a lot as well. So thank you everyone who is donating that is featured here on screen. And again, you know, it's not just a pure donation, you do get some more daily Master Duel content over there just for being a part of the Patreon. But I think that's about all the time that I have for today's video. Once again, I just want to thank you so very much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. Again, it just means a lot as I do put a decent amount of work into getting these videos out every single day. But that's about all the time that I've got for now. So without further ado, this is Xlex. I'm signing out, and I hope you have a fantastic day.